Konnichiwa. We're going to take a look at some articles, first about plasma and electric storms, and then about using bricks for energy. We'll also take a look at a radar image that Adam was talking about on Marfukel TV. It says at the height of a thunderstorm, the tips of cell towers, telephone poles, and other tall, electronically conductive structures can spontaneously emit a flash of blue light. This electric glow, known as a CORONA discharge, is produced when the air surrounding a conductive object is briefly ionized by an electric-charged environment. For centuries, sailors observed CORONA discharges at the tips of ship masts during storms at sea. Scientists have found that a discharge can strengthen in windy conditions, glowing more brightly as the wind further electrifies the air. The wind-induced intensification has been observed mostly in electrically grounded structures, such as trees and towers. Now, aerospace engineers at MIT have found that wind has an opposite effect on ungrounded objects, such as airplanes and some wind turbine blades. In some of the last experiments performed in MIT's Wright Brothers wind tunnel before it was dismantled in 2019, the researchers exposed an electronically ungrounded model of an airplane wing to increasingly strong wind gusts. They found that the stronger the wind, the weaker the discharge, and the dimmer the glow that was produced. The team's results appear in the Journal of Geographical Research, Atmospheres. The study's lead author is Carmen Gura Garcia, an assistant professor of aeronautics and astronautics at MIT. Within a storm cloud, friction can build up to produce extra electrons, creating an electric field that can reach all the way to the ground. If that field is strong enough, it can break apart surrounding air molecules, turning neutral air into a charged gas or plasma. This process most often occurs around sharp conductive objects such as cell towers and wingtips, as these pointed structures tend to concentrate the electric field in a way that electrons are pulled from surrounding air molecules toward the pointed structures, leaving behind a veil of positively charged plasma immediately around the sharp object. Once a plasma has formed, the molecules within it can begin to glow via the process of discharge, where excess electrons in the electric field ping-pong against the molecules, knocking them into excited states. In order to come down from those excited states, the molecules emit a photon of energy at a wavelength that, for oxygen and nitrogen, corresponds to the characteristic bluish glow of St. Elmo's fire. In previous laboratory experiments, scientists found that this glow and the energy of a discharge can strengthen in the presence of wind. A strong gust can essentially blow away the positively charged ions that were locally shielding the electric field and reducing its effect, making it easier for electrons to trigger a stronger, brighter glow. These experiments were mostly carried out with electrically grounded structures, and the MIT team wondered whether wind would have the same strengthening effect on a discharge that was produced around a sharp underground object, such as an airplane wing. To test this idea, they fabricated a simple wing structure out of wood and wrapped the wing in foil to make it electrically conductive, rather than try to produce an ambient electric field similar to what would be generated in a thunderstorm. The team studied an alternative configuration in which the discharge was generated in a metal wire running parallel to the length of the wing, and connecting a small high-voltage power source between the wire and the wing. They fastened the wing to a pedestal made from an insulating material that, because of its non-conductive nature, essentially made the wing itself electrically suspended or ungrounded. The team placed the entire setup in MIT's Wright Brothers wind tunnel and subjected it to increasingly higher velocities of wind, up to 50 meters per second, as they also varied the amount of voltage that they applied to the wire. During these tests, they measured the amount of electrical charge building up in the wing, the current of the CORONA, and also used the ultraviolet sensitive camera to observe the brightness of the corona discharge on the wire. In the end, they found that the strength of the discharge and its resulting brightness decreased as the wind increased, a surprising and opposite effect from what scientists have seen for wind acting on grounded structures. The team developed numerical simulations to try and explain the effect, and found that for ungrounded structures, the process is largely similar to what happens with grounded objects, but with something extra. In both cases, the wind is blowing away the positive ions generated by the CORONA, leaving behind a stronger field in the surrounding area, air. For ungrounded structures, however, because they are electrically isolated, they become more negatively charged. This results in a weakening of the positive discharge. The amount of negative charge that the wing retains is set by the competing effects of positive ions blown by the wind, and those attracted and pulled back as a result of the negative excursion. This secondary effect, the researchers found, acts to weaken the local electric field as well as the discharge's electric glow. Quote, "The corona discharge is the first stage of lightning in general," Gura Garcia says. "How discharge behaves is important and kind of sets the stage for what could happen next in terms of electrification." Quote, "The exciting thing about this study is that while trying to demonstrate that the electrical charge of an aircraft can be controlled using a discharge, we actually discovered that classical theories of CORONA discharge in wind do not apply for airborne platforms that are electrically isolated from their environment," Gura Garcia says. "Electrical breakdown occurring in aircraft really presents some unique features that do not allow the direct extrapolation from ground studies." So it kind of sounds like it could relate to the aurora borealis in a way with the blue flashes. Okay, so taking a look at this article, Storing Energy in Red Bricks, it says, imagine plugging into your brick house. Red bricks, some of the world's cheapest and most familiar building materials, can be converted into energy storage units that can be charged to hold electricity like a battery, according to new research from Washington University in St. Louis. Brick has been used in walls and buildings for thousands of years, but rarely has it been found fit for any other use. Now, chemists in arts and sciences have developed a method to make or modify smart bricks that can store energy until required for powering devices. A proof of concept published August 11th in Nature Communications shows a brick directly powering a green LED. Quote, "Our method works with regular brick or recycled bricks, and we can make our own bricks as well," said Giulio D'Arcy, assistant professor of chemistry. D'Arcy and colleagues, including Washington University graduate student Hongmin Wang, first author of the new study, showed how to convert red bricks into a type of energy storage device called a supercapacitor. Quote, "In this work, we have developed a coating of the superconducting polymer PEDOT, which is comprised of nanofibers that penetrate the inner porous network of a brick. A polymer coating remains trapped in a brick and serves as an ion sponge that stores and conducts electricity," D'Arcy said. The red pigment in bricks, iron oxide or rust, is essential for triggering the polymerization reaction. The author's calculation suggests the walls made of these energy-storing bricks could store a substantial amount of energy. So that's kind of interesting. Just thought of the article about it said Earth is made of cubes. And so let's take a look at this radar image that was on Marfugal TV. Adam tweeted it, and then it was on the show also. And he said something like, "Tell me that's an asteroid." And so It kind of, like, Adam kind of reminded me of like the whole scene from Austin Powers where they see something on the radar. So what do you think about it? Thanks for watching. Arigato, matane.